So often when I would talk to people about what I did, they had just no clue that any of this even took place. I guess they just don't think about it.
Let me introduce you to this thing called the IATSE, the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees and Motion Picture Technicians of the United States and Canada.
I've never heard of that.
Most people don't even know we exist.
I think so.
We're sort of almost like the unsung heroes, you know, we're the people who move around in the shadows and dress in black and, you know, we make the shows happen.
Hey, there's a stagehand union here and we are one of the oldest locals in the area.
If you're doing your job perfectly as a stagehand, no one knows you're doing it.
Do rigging or do electrical or do carpentry or do wardrobe, do the sewing and everything, but you also have to have the mindset that realize you're going to be working some really long hours.
People don't realize how dangerous a place a stage is to work.
The job, the surroundings are nearly impossible to begin with, and then you set out to do them. So, I mean, it's mission impossible squared.
When most people are off, that's when you're the busiest. The weekends and the holidays, that's when we're working 10 to 12 hours a day, no problem.
The occasion for these interviews is the 100th anniversary of the Charter, and that's a really big deal.
100 years, that's a long time. You know, you're doing something right if you can keep doing it for 100 years.
Dan Howe, Brett Carroll,
Jenny Probst,
Ray Mishu,
Vicky Paris,
Bo Howard.
congratulations, 100 years, 322, keep on doing it.
The IA is the largest labor union in the entertainment industry in the world. We are, quite frankly, the envy of entertainment technicians and designers and artists throughout the world. Our level of expertise, our level of continuing craft training, our wages and conditions basically are at the pinnacle of our industry.
When I was growing up in South Carolina, you didn't really talk about unions. And if the word was mentioned, it was taboo. It was, oh, you're not supposed to talk about that. And the subject would be changed immediately because people were very afraid. And I think a lot of people still are.
I had been taught early in my life in Sunday school to distrust Catholicism, communism, and unionism.
I think that is a problem with education in a lot of your southern right-to-work states, that they really don't talk about what unions really are.
Locals are chartered to represent a specific craft in a specific craft jurisdiction and geographical jurisdiction. 322 is what's called a mixed local, which represents all crafts with few exceptions, mainly in the motion picture industry, in their geographical area.
My name is James Andrews. I'm president of the North Carolina State AFL-CIO. The AFL-CIO is a federation of unions in North Carolina that include, even the Carolina Panthers, firefighters, police officers, textile workers, building trades, and others. I'm proud to lead this organization because we're the voice of workers in the state of North Carolina.
I am a delegate to the Southern Piedmont Central Labor Council, which is the AFL-CIO local affiliate. We cover 10 counties that surround Mecklenburg in North Carolina. And it's really a union of unions is how I like to describe it.
We are workers' voice on the job, looking after their interests day after day, not just on wages, but also on working conditions, the climate in which they work, and also the climate in which they live. which means that we are also involved in issues beyond the workplace.
We have guys from the NALC, which is letter carriers, and the APWU, which is postal workers, as the guys who handle the mail as opposed to carry the mail. Guys who build trucks and tires, and steel workers and electricians.
We're not the only ones going through these labor troubles. What the problems we have with management or labor, the Teamsters have it, the communications workers have it, the locomotive engineers have it. All these people, they have the same problems. Why can't we work together and add our voice?
The AFL-CIO being the voice of workers, including immigrant workers, all workers, then your membership must be proud that you're lending your voice beyond the individual members. You're a part of a larger organization that are speaking on the behalf of so many that have no voice, have no one that's listening to them, and we must continue to be that voice.
The first organized group of stagehands, the late 1880s. In 1893, there was a founding meeting of stagehands from all over the U.S. that came to New York and founded the National Association of Theatrical Stage Employees. Got a charter with the AFL. And very quickly, all over the U.S., other locals applied and were chartered as stagehands.
They realized that collectively they could get together and have more sway than just individually.
To the theater patrons of Charlotte, the following theaters of Charlotte show the union slide and therefore deserve your patronage. They employ union men only. These men have had years of experience and are skilled workers. Local 322, International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees and Moving Picture Machine Operators of the United States and Canada, affiliated with the American Federation of Labor, J. Sam Hinson, President.
This was an ad placed in the Charlotte Observer in 1918, just 4 years after the local was chartered by 21 projectionists. In the autumn of 1952, Local 322 members picketed the South 21 Drive-In Theater to protest the hiring of non-union projectionists.
You had to have projectionists to run, you had to have union projectionists to run projectors for movie theaters, and that's how so many of these locals started.
The majority of our members up until the late 70s were motion picture projection operators. Every screen needed at least one skilled and often licensed operator because a nitrate film stock was explosive if it wasn't handled properly.
My dad, like a lot of brothers and sisters, he was a projectionist. And as the projectionists went to platters and they went to the assistant managers walking upstairs and pressing the button, there wasn't much need for projectionists anymore.
In a certain sense, I'm nostalgic for those eras, but the technology is the technology. And now everything's on a memory stick or Ethernet.
In 1958, the Auditorium Coliseum Authority rejected a request by then business agent Ken Klontz for the authority to hire 3 full-time union men to maintain the Charlotte Coliseum and Ovens Auditorium between shows. Ben Howe, Joe Bogdan, and Carl Hoffman, known collectively as the Opera Shop Boys, became the first non-projectionist members of Local 322.
They were sort of led into the union as the first non-projectionist. In a compromise so that Tommy Riggins, a retired fireman, would be allowed to join the local. And so that broke the glass ceiling.
When I started, the local was mostly a group of moonlighting firemen and projectionists.
A lot of firemen became riggers and they did the rigging because they were used to doing the climbing.
Another milestone was hit when Ann Taylor was sworn into the local.
I was the first female to take the oath for Local 322, and then Charlotte took her oath at the next meeting. She went into Park Terrace Cinemas, and I went into Eastland Mall, and we were the last two people hired through the union to do the projection work. The men were like, you work hard, you're doing the work, you're setting an example, people are having to keep up with you, that's a good thing. So the men were the easy part. It was their wives that did not like females entering into the business of their husbands. It was a new chapter, a new realm.
The Coliseum on Tyvola Road opened, and Charlotte was able to host larger concerts and events, in addition to professional basketball, and provided the push Local 322 needed to increase membership and range.
I remember the old Coliseum being built before it was the old Coliseum.
The Coliseum on Tyvola Road opened in August of '88, and that immediately changed the type and scope of show that came to Charlotte.
They had built the Coliseum to accommodate new NBA teams, so that was a new realm for Charlotte. We were finally starting to get professional sports.
The change and growth of the 80s continued into the 90s with the opening of Blockbuster Pavilion in 1991.
It opened on July 4th, 1991, Ray Charles. And so by then we had made the decision that we would go out there and take the calls just as workers and not through the local and do the card thing. I mean, that was our goal from minute one. Their jaws were dropping. Y'all are coming out here for $9 an hour? Really? This is unbelievable. They couldn't believe their good fortune. They committed several labor violations, things that were considered over the top.
I remember picketing Blockbuster Pavilion, walking through excrement that they had thrown out on the sidewalk where they knew we'd be walking the next day picketing.
And they'd spread the manure pretty thickly on there and had designated that as the only place we would be allowed to picket. It was hard to decide what to do. Do you humiliate yourself or do you let them beat you? So we walked in there anymore. Big deal.
So that became an unfair labor practice.
And it went into the court system, and it was there for a very long time before the NLRB ruled in our favor.
In 95, 96, I remember we did a lot of convention center work.
Then we did a lot of trade shows. You know, it was different stuff. We did Christmas shows and belt perfume shows and all the little things that you never know that maybe people need production.
Yeah.
You know, we went in, put the walls up, you know, help man everything.
The state-of-the-art Blumenthal Performing Arts Center opened in November of 1992, and Local 322 went to work there under the same terms as at Ovens Auditorium. This would not change until spring of 2000, when stagehands voted for union representation and the first contract with the Blumenthal was negotiated and signed.
My first kind of parlay into the politics of Local 322, I want to say, came in 2001, 2002, somewhere in that realm, after we had negotiated the first contract with Blumenthal Performing Arts Center.
What do you want? What's most important to you? And everyone was very surprised that benefits were more important than wages. But we went in armed with what our members wanted.
Steve Langley showed up and said, man, I can't make it, I've got a daughter. And at that time his daughter was really young, said, well, Stevie, I need you to vote. And he threw his daughter on a backpack thing, showed up.
Bring her with you. And in every picture you see of that day, he's got a baby strapped to his back.
We sat down with the Performing Arts Center, had the vote.
It was uncomfortable, but it was not difficult. And it was exhilarating when the vote came back 68-1.
Judith, bless her heart, called right away and said, congratulations, man, you smoked us, you know.
Getting a contract in that facility, that was huge.
In 2005, Time Warner Cable Arena opened in uptown Charlotte with the Rolling Stones, and Local 322 rolled into the new venue with them. In 2009, the Night Theater opened, providing a site for the Hunger Games film shoot as well as more work for the local. In 2012, Local 322 unofficially became the little local that could, when Charlotte hosted the Democratic National Convention.
I think people saw that we pulled off the DNC with less than 100 members and started to take us seriously, so we got a bigger international presence at that point.
To get through that was really all about putting a staff in place that we had in the office and putting a committee together that really could see the pitfalls that we were going to walk into.
I can't speak highly enough of the experience I had during those 6 weeks during the DNC. They made my job rather easy because they actually listened. They were open. You know, it takes a lot of internal courage and maturity to be able to get beyond your comfort zone.
This union, 322, you did not say me and mine and I'm only protecting me and mine. You developed a process by which you went out into the community, in the depressed communities, and were able to work with community partners to in fact identify individuals that are capable of being trained in this industry and allow them a jump start.
The local coordinated and staffed production needs for multiple venues around town with an average of 300 workers per day. That number jumped to 450 on the busiest day of convention activities. Not bad for a local that began with 21 projectionists 100 years ago.
It has been a really life-changing experience for me to be a part of this local, because we honestly do things better than anybody in Charlotte.
My mom and dad were both IA stagehands. I remember going to union meetings with my dad and sitting in the back of the room, and with my mom and sitting in the theater and playing on the side. I would beg my mom and dad to let me go to work with them at night, and I would learn how to use the carbon art projectors, and we would put trailers on the film that would come in on Thursday nights for the weekend's preview. My punishment when I was a bad little boy was to not be able to go to the theater.
I wanted to work at the best of the industry. I wanted to be a part of the top end of doing all this, and I knew the union was where that was. You know, it's like you had to be in the union if you want to work at this level and do the big shows.
I'm Tom Batista. I'm out of Local 30 in Indianapolis. I'm the stage manager. Have for 22 years now with Buffett, and so we've been through Charlotte many times. When we get to town, it's always good to have another local because we can give stage direction. It makes our job a lot easier, and so we struggle a lot of times with places that don't have union stagehands.
I love it. It's like the career that I never knew I wanted.
Jamie Kurtz. I'm the head carpenter for the national tour of Ghost the Musical. Local 82 out of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. We've primarily worked with union crews, but a few cities are right-to-work states, and we've had a few non-union crews. I would prefer union crews, though, over not. You know, you get riggers who have rigged more than once in their life and know what they need to be doing.
You know, the thing about unions is the reason they are there is to protect the workers. And at the end of the day, it's really about making sure that people are treated fairly, that they're receiving a good wage.
There's tough times, and then there's times when you're like, I got the best job in the world.
The guys all work hard, the gals all work hard. Everybody wants to do a good job. This local, from my experience, has always tried to better themselves. It's very hard sometimes to keep working. And, you know, at my local, it was always extra beer money. And not everybody looked at it as a job and a career. And here I think they do look at it as a career, and it is the job. It's not just extra beer money.
As the economy went to hell, work with 322 was the only thing that was reliable.
I've been working with 322 since 1985 on my first production for Opera Carolina. You know, I go elsewhere and I say, oh, I wish I had my guys from 322. It's a well-organized crew, a lot of good people, and know what they're doing.
There's more of a family atmosphere here.
It's like working with the family, you know. There's good days and bad days, and joking around and people getting mad. It's all of it put together, but all in all, it is a good environment to work in.
And I love what I do, and I get to do it with a lot of good brothers and sisters, so it's all good.
Because without us, without the actors, without the musicians, there's no show.
It is really hard to lose someone that you've worked with for years. You've worked with them side by side all of this time.
Michael Marriott, he's someone who I think of often when I do the work.
Too short a life.
A true mentor.
We called them legends when I was coming on. There were a handful of them, Jack Moyle and Tommy Riggins and Mac.
He was like a second father to me.
Every guy who we've ever had work with us is no longer here, guy or girl. They are missed.
And it hurts. Yeah, it hurts losing them. He was such the center of our social world.
He's my best friend.
Bob was best man at my wedding.
He brought me a cup of coffee every morning.
He was a true fraternal brother.
It's really hard to lose the people that you work with on a daily basis.
We used to argue about whether it was okay to speak. Progress that the local has made is a world away better.
I like that the International has a huge emphasis on people getting trained and certified, so it's trickling down naturally to 322, and we're becoming certified in a lot of things like AV and safety courses, things like that.
Education has gotten better and better and better. Safety.
If our members are not the best trained technicians, we're not going to be able to maintain our wages and conditions because someone else is going to have that. If we are not the safest workforce, someone else is going to come up with an alternative.
I think we're ahead of the curve in needing to get ahead of technology before technology gets ahead of us.
What is really important is that I have a skill when I leave college that I can employ anywhere in the world. And that is really what we're trying to do here, is to say, hey, look, there is this thing that you can do backstage. People do it. You can make a living in the arts. You can be part of this, and oh, let me introduce you to this thing called the IATSE.
Being able to get involved with school programs and letting kids know that there are careers in this field, building costumes or building sets, running video, running sound, that there are actually jobs out there and that they can aim their lives in that direction.
I'm glad to see that things are changing for the younger generations coming up, that they can take the time to be with their families.
I feel like we're moving in the direction of trying to help the younger people find good positions that are going to last. And I feel like I'm seeing more and more of the educating of the younger crew, you know, the up and coming.
I mean, this is more than just an administration turnover. It's a generational turnover.
To me, it feels like we're headed in the right way and we'll be able to do some really good stuff.
We've been here for 100 years and it has not been pretty the entire time. But, you know, it's a thing that we have to keep working at.
It's definitely moving in the right direction. We're actually moving, which is nice.
I'm just trying to pass on the same thing that happened to me, and that was the right people taking you under their wing, not being afraid to show you the job, and just making the industry overall better.
Leave it in better hands than I got is what I'd like to see.
We have a great city to work here with, and we can grow with it as it grows.
Basically bring the level of professionalism to another height that the city needs. And 322 will be the leader of that.
I think to some extent, the sooner you bring in new people that embrace new ways, the better off you're going to be.
Now I'd like to say, we're back, everybody.
You do know you're not supposed to videotape out here in this venue, don't you?
I think our core group is bigger and more like solidified.
Unionism runs real strong in my blood.
You're welcome.
We're delighted with the relationship.
Happy 100 years, 322.
Hey, great guys to work with.
I don't want to incriminate myself.
Happy birthday!
Shirt? Okay.
Stop.
I would have shaved more or something, man.
Is my hair all right?
Happy 100th anniversary, Local 322.
Happy 100, 322.
Very, very happy and wonderful 100th anniversary.
Love working with them. Everyone's awesome. Love you guys.
Happy 100 years, 322.
100 years for this local is impressive, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
322, congratulations on 100 years.
Happy 100-year anniversary.
Happy 100 years, 322.
Happy 100th anniversary to IATSE Local 322.
Happy 100 years, 322.
Yeah, happy 100th birthday, 322.
I want to wish the local a happy 100 years.
Happy 100th birthday!
100 years and strong.
Happy 100th anniversary.
Happy 100, and I hope many more.
Happy 100th anniversary.
Happy 100th anniversary, 322. Let's do some more. Okay.
Happy anniversary, IATSE 322.
To my brothers and sisters of 322, congratulations on 100 years of success.
In 100 years, we can all sit here again and do another videotape.
Definitely going to retire this year. That's a promise.